back. How was lunch? Yeah. I mean, there was choke food, yeah? How many of you had more than one thing of poke? Or lomi salmon? Because I did, okay. It was delicious. Don't fall asleep, please, during this next part, because it's very exciting. I'm going to give away a couple. Can you help me open this, please? I'm going to give you away a couple prizes before we get started with our keynote speaker. All right. What do we have? What do we have, Kim?
Hawaiian-style flavors, chili pepper water.
We get chili pepper water and, that's like salt, full of pa'akai seasoning. This is the one. Okay, wait, I'm going to pull it. If you really want it, pull it for it now. I might pull your name. Okay. April Lum. Okay, and April, I promise you guys, this is not a setup. April, I'm returning your phone. Your phone. I found someone with a charger. Thank you. Wait, was that your wire that I took? Oh, no, I gave you back the wire. Okay. Sorry, you see, when we all have pilina, we're all family here. Okay, next one. What's up next? $20 Zippy's gift card. And a Kaiser Permanente pill Band-Aid case. I didn't realize pills and Band-Aids could be put together, but apparently I was wrong. Constance Bell Mullen. Constance, come on down, Constance. Oh, wait, or it's coming to you. It's coming to you. We deliver direct to you, Constance. Enjoy your Zippy's meal, Napples, whatever you do. One more? What do you think? One more, right? Okay. What do we got? One more Zippy's gift card and pill/Band-Aid. Mahalo to Kaiser Permanente. What is their tagline? Kaiser.
We thrive.
We thrive, right? Or be thrive. Okay, we thrive. We thrive sounds good. Wainani Lee, where are you at? Wainani Lee, you got yourself. Okay. Oh, get Zippy's on Hawaii Island, yeah? Yeah. In Hilo, right? Okay, and then for your Band-Aid/pills, All right. Well, I am thrilled. I'm so thrilled that I'm going to get my agenda, which has Kuhio's bio. So up next, we have as our keynote speaker, someone that I think, if you don't already know him, is truly a visionary for this generation of Kanaka. So of course, Kuhio Lewis is the CEO of the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement, CNHA. And you probably see him a lot on TV, although he always tries to put other people in front of him because he's that kind of servant leader. After the Lahaina fires, the CNHA mobilized very quickly to support the ohana out there. Personally, as a Kanaka in the community, I've been very grateful and in awe at the way that they're able to mobilize to help with things like that are very complex, but simplifying the process for housing and other kinds of support and outreach. Also with workforce development and being active politically, while not being kind of political, being an advocate, a cultural ambassador in the community. And I'm really happy to see CNHA here as part of this community because we know that, I know their role is, and I'm just riffing right now. This is what I know. Is to really build up a strong lahui on the workforce side, housing side, and in so many ways. And of course now with tourism, and really taking a different approach with tourism in Hawaii, which has been Hawaii's leading economic provider for a very long time. But also that the other half of our Kanaka struggle with the kinds of things that we know that we have seen as educators, as community servants, and to have CNHA at the table and speaking with us and learning and building that pilina is really, really important. I think that's what I want to say about Kuhio. You're welcome to read about him more in your agenda. And I'm thrilled for the next, how long we get you? 1 hour? Get you for an hour, yeah? Will there be a Q&A portion, Kuhio? we're gonna roll with them. So we have them till 2 p.m. At that time, we'll have a 10-minute break, and then we're gonna do panels 2 and 3 back to back. But I'll be back at that time to give us a little more information. So Kuhio, how would you like to proceed? Would you like to sit up there, talk story, roam, use the podium? Okay, let's show him some aloha.
Thank you so much. Aloha kako. I'm very honored to be here, but I want to start by apologizing. You were actually supposed to have Kumuhina as your keynote speaker today, but I sent her on an airplane. She's actually in Utah right now, engaging our Kanaka that have moved away. So sorry, I'm just the backup. I wanted to talk, as I was thinking about what I wanted to share, I thought about my own journey in life, and I thought it would resonate with some of you, because I'm a product of social service. I was raised by my grandparents. My mom and dad, had their share of challenges in life, drugs, alcohol, and grandma and grandpa stepped up to take care of me. And like most, lost children that no more mom and dad, you start to become real rebellious, and that was me. So at the age of 2, they adopted me legally. And then as I was trying to figure out where my parents were, just the sense of loss, I ended up becoming a runaway. I ran away from home. And for a moment in history, I was living on the streets. And I did find my parents. I was able to find them. It wasn't so glorious. I actually... during high school, I fell victim to drugs myself. And I dropped out of high school at the age of 16. So I'm a high school dropout. And I had my first son, my child, at the age of 17. And life was just spiraling for me very, very quickly. And so it was really with the grace of many support programs, mentors, even Pule, I was able to find my way back on track. And not about 2 years later, I think I'm 20 years old at this point, and I had my daughter, so I had my second kid, and I had no idea what I was going to do in life, and I was very vulnerable. But throughout the process, even programs like Halekipa, I was supposed to go. I was court mandated as a juvenile to go Halekipa. But I run away. I was like, forget that. I ain't going over there. But I ended up finding my way here anyway. But life has had its share of turns. And, the truth is I don't regret any of it. It gave me grit. It gave me character. It gave me an understanding of what the people that we today get to serve, what they're going through. And I'll tell you my story about how I overcame, how I started to turn my life around. At the age of 20, as a high school dropout, I was thinking, how am I going to take care of 2 kids if I don't even have a high school diploma? And so I decided one day, some light bulb went off in my head that I needed to go back to school. And I was only short a few credits in school. I think I was short 8 or 9 credits. It's like one semester. So I went to ask the high school principal if I could go back to school. I said, I just finished my credits. I get my diploma. She says, oh no, you're too old. You got to go adult school. And I didn't want to get my GED. I wanted my high school diploma. This was the first real battle I felt of my life that meant that was a turning moment for me. So she told me no, or he told me no. So I went to his boss, the district office, the superintendent. I said, can I go back to school? I just want to finish my credits. I don't want to do GED. He said no to. Then I went to the deputy superintendent. They get all these levels. I was learning as I was going. I was learning about all these guys that they get. They're all getting paid too. So I figured I'd make them work for their money. So I went to the deputy. I asked him the same question. I told him, I'd like to go back high school. Why can't I go? What's the big deal? He says, oh, there's a policy in place. If we let you in, you got to let everybody else in. And so I really wasn't ready to give up. So I asked to speak with the superintendent and they wouldn't let me meet with her. They kept running me around in circles. So I did what most people wouldn't have done, but I did it, and I waited outside of the Department of Education. I had my son with me, and I waited by the parking lot. I waited for her to come out to go to her car. Her name was Pat Hamamoto. Anyway, she knew who I was because I was a student at McKinley High School and she was the principal at that time. So anyway, I was waiting outside by her car. I didn't know which car was hers. Finally, like 6 something at night, she comes out. She go walking into her car, and I stopped her and I said, "Mrs. Hamamoto, Mrs. Hamamoto," and I introduced myself and I said, "This is my son," and I said, "I'm being resilient because I feel like I'm not ready to give up. I want a shot to go back to high school. Will you let me in?" And I said, like, I want to prove to others, I want to prove most importantly to myself that I can do this. And she paused for a moment. She looked at me. She says, "I remember you, right?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm sure you do." Anyway, they called me the next day. They allowed me to go back to high school. And so I finished my credits that year. And I wore my cap and gown. I graduated with all the students. So I think till today, I'm the oldest graduate of the Department of Education. But that was an important time in my life because it was the first time I didn't take no for an answer. And I advocated for myself, and I won. And I felt so empowered in that moment. That was the turning point for me. That was when I decided, okay, if I can win that battle, what else battles can win? And, next step was getting, the kid's mother and I split up. I met her when I was on drugs. And so it was a volatile kind of relationship. So she went back on drugs. And I was trying to keep myself sober. I was trying to keep myself intact to support the family. So she went back on her trip. And so next step for me was winning custody of my kids. And so I'm very proud of that moment too, because I became a single dad. And I raised those kids. The court awarded me full custody. And I raised those kids till today. My son is 22 years old and my daughter is 20 years old. And I did it. I went on to college. That was another big, cool lesson for me. Because I actually did pretty good in college. I actually got good grades. And I was shocked because quite the opposite happened in high school. But what I learned in college was, and as I'm feeding off of this energy of this victory of, hey, I can get back in high school at age 20, what else can do? In college, I discovered student government. And I became the president of I became the ASUH president for Honolulu Community College, which is where I went. And I found so much joy in fighting with the faculty on all kinds of issues. I couldn't understand why students paid more for parking than faculty. And I would fight with them. I would go to faculty senate meetings and I'd do all kinds of resolutions, go around and get petitions from the students, petition the student body. And you know what? They wouldn't change them. So now the teachers pay more and the students pay less. And so you see, as life is going on, I'm starting to get these little wins and I'm starting to learn, don't just give up. You got to fight. You got to challenge the status quo. And these are so amazing little gems as I reflect back on how the heck did you get to where you are today? It's those moments. It's those people like all of you who believed in someone like me, who most people didn't believe in. So thank you for the work that you all do to support, to empower, to believe in people just like me that were struggling in life to find their way. How about a hand for yourselves? There was moments in life that I look back and I shared this. I actually gave the commencement address for the University of Hawaii Manoa last year. I couldn't believe, you sure me? I gave the commencement address in front of 10,000 people. And I had to do it twice because it was such a large graduating class. I mean, that was quite the thing. But I shared in that speech about how were those hard moments in life where I didn't have money. I didn't have anything to pay for the basic necessities like diapers. I was on welfare. I was on food stamps. But Yeah, when you get your food stamps, the first thing you do is you go buy steak, you know what I mean? Steak and lobster. And then you don't have enough food stamps for the rest of the month. So that was me. That was very much me. So for 3 weeks, I had to figure out how I was going to survive. So what I started to do was sell balloons at graduations. So I was Googling, I found one wholesaler that I could buy the balloons for, it was like 5 cents, 10 cents one balloon. Then I'd go get the helium at Gaspro, and I'd go sell the balloons, and I'd make a good money doing that. Like the return, it was like 1,000% return on investment, man. So I started learning business too, right? Like I started to learn how to not just overcome, but also like how to start to make money in economics at that level. My journey to the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement is quite interesting. So when I was in college, I started to wonder, where are all these Hawaiian trusts that get all this money? How come us Hawaiians struggle so much in life? How come we struggle so much in school? How come we gotta like take out all these student loans? Where's all this Hawaiian money? That's what I was wondering in school. And so I decided to run for office. I decided to run for trustee of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs because I thought they're not doing nothing. I don't know what they're doing over there. So I decided to run for OHA trustee. It was quite the experience, to be honest. I got to meet all kind of characters. I got to learn how to campaign. I got to learn how to talk to the community, talk to the public, how to understand people. And I resonated with so many of them, though, and they resonated with me. I didn't win. I didn't win the election. But what came of it was I got a call I got a call the night of the election results. So after like the second printout, it's pretty clear. You know, all these Nahoku Hano Hano award winners going to get reelected to OHA again. But I got a call from one of the Nahoku Hano Hano award winners who became a dear friend of mine, Haunani Apoliona. And she said to me, "Young man, I'm very proud of you. I believe you have a bright future, and I want you to come and work for the Office of Hawaiian Affairs." And I said, "Really? I just ran against you guys." She said, "Yeah, you're the kind of energy we need at OHA." So she gave me a shot. And you know, if you know Haunani, she has a big heart for social service. She's always, she involvement with Alulike and so many programs over the years. Anyway, they gave me a shot. So from running for OHA, now I'm working at OHA, and I became the youth coordinator for the Office of Foreign Affairs. It was a new position. And my job was to go out and engage OPIO, the youth, and talk to them and encourage them and help them find and navigate resources in the community. It was kind of a cool job. And so AHA OPIO, which is a program that OHA had, fell under me. And so I got to put on conferences just like this to empower and enrich community, and especially our OPIO. After a couple of years doing that, I started to move up the ranks. They ended up making me the manager of this and that. And then I eventually became I was responsible for the largest division at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. It was their community engagement division. So I oversaw all their neighbor islands, all of their outreach efforts, and I had the biggest staff, the biggest budget. Keep in mind, now high school dropout, right? All kinds of things I'm trying to battle with in life, and now I'm moving up into the ranks and learning and growing. And so it was quite the experience. I felt like there was so much potential at the Office of Foreign Affairs when you're on the inside, it's a lot different than when you're on the outside, when you see how things actually work over there. It shouldn't work like that though, by the way, but it's just the way it is. But you can see the bureaucracy, right? Like how things just don't always make sense. So I love to figure out how to cut red tape at OHA. Sometimes cutting red tape means don't tell anybody nothing, just do them. Ask for forgiveness, not permission. That was me. But you know what? Things got done. Things got done. People got helped. And then I think I was at OHA for 8 years. And I got a call from Michelle Kauhane. Some of you might know Michelle. She's now a trustee for the Kamehameha Schools. She's also the vice president of the Hawaii Community Foundation. She was actually the CEO for CNHA at the time. And she called me, she says, okay, Mr. Lewis, have you ever thought about working for a nonprofit? And I'm like, no. She's like, well, you should. I would like you to think about it. I've been watching you. I think you have great energy. I think you represent the next generation, and we want young leadership at CNHA. And I told her, well, my first question to her was, well, how come you leaving then? If it's so great, something must. And you asking me to come over there, what's going on? And she says, no, we just, we want to nurture someone to take the helm. So I didn't agree initially, but after a couple of months of talking to mentors and friends and Michelle nagging me, I decided to apply. And I got hired to be the CEO for CNHA in 2018. So today's coming up is my 8th year at the office of at CNHA. In fact, I believe June 1st is my 8th year. So it's in a couple of days. I'm going to be 8 years with CNHA. I started at CNHA. I've never been a C-level suite kind of executive. I don't know nothing about all this kind of P&L statements or anything like that, statement of activities. I'm learning. I had to learn. I had to go classes. I had to figure out how to manage people, money, how to go after resources. So I give credit. How many of you guys executive directors inside here are like leaders of organizations? Oh my God. How about a hand for these guys? You have no idea what they got to go through. It's really a constant hustle. It's a constant hustle. You're hustling for money, you're hustling relationships, you're hustling to be relevant, you're hustling for all of these things, keeping your staff in line, keeping them trained and updated, feeling appreciated. It's constant juggling act, and they deserve a lot of credit for the kuleana that they carry. Anyway, when I started at CNHA, maybe a year into the job, my first, CNHA wasn't in the best shape when I took it over. They were actually struggling. My first mail that I opened from CNHA was an eviction notice. They were getting evicted from their unit, their headquarters. And I'm like, oh my God, what did I inherit here? And then I helped them move into where we at now, which is right across the street. We were squatters for a little bit. And we've kept that headquarters, though. But it was like a little bathroom stop right outside the Department of Hawaiian Homelands. That was our office. And then the pandemic hits. The governor shuts down the state, and we're like, oh, my God. So not only do we have all of these challenges facing us now, all of our programs that we thought we had known or was planning for are now done. Like, we can't even go outside. Can't go shopping. And so that was the moment of like the survival instinct that I was raised with, like that survival instinct kicked in. And I said, okay, whatever we were doing, let's forget about it. Let's reset everything. So I ended up, and I think I had like 4 or 5 employees at CNHA. That's all we had. I decided to rewrite all the job descriptions. So for a moment of CNHA's history, I was the only employee. I was the only employee of CNHA. And I started to reimagine what CNHA's future would look like. And they were very heavy into policy. They would go to DC, they would do all this advocacy, and it was a really commendable thing. They would put on the convention every year as well. But I said, as I looked at, like, what are the needs of our people? And what I saw was our people needed community and economic development. They needed to build wealth, and they needed to be leaders in our community. So I pivoted the organization. We went from a policy house to an engine that would incubate leaders and that would build wealth for our community. Fast forward to where we are today. CNHA has over 100 employees, and we bring in over $80 million a year, and we give out around $30 million in programs and grant funding every year. We have workforce development programs. We have so many economic programs. We are a developer. We develop homes. We have 66 homes we just built on Maui. We're housing over 1,000 Lahaina survivors. We have our Makeke, which supports hundreds of Hawaii businesses, small businesses. We have our loan fund with hundreds of borrowers that are borrowing money from CNHA. And we are also, for the first time in history, there's a Native Hawaiian organization at the table helping direct tourism. So it's been an amazing journey for CNHA. And people often say, well, you guys are all over the place. What do you do? Like, they can't figure out what exactly. We are a financial institution building wealth for our people. That's what we do in its simplest form. It's time Hawaiians lead. It's time we build wealth. It's time that our people are in the front. And so CNHA is no longer about what we do for Native Hawaiians. We're about how do we lead as Hawaiians? How do we be leaders in the state of Hawaii? So it's not a handout mentality. It's more of how do we contribute as leaders? What do we bring to the table? So that's the pivot. That's the direction that the organization has taken. And as I look to the future, like what happens even after where we are today? I mean, I think it's, I was just last night, and this is something that, not all nonprofits think about. They think that, like even nonprofits, there's a lesson in here, I feel. Yes, social service work is so important, but look at what's happening at a federal level. Like, we cannot depend on other people to save us. We have to save ourselves. We have to learn how to generate wealth. We have to learn how to utilize the infrastructures that we have to support ourselves. So nonprofit doesn't mean no profit. It doesn't. It's just a tax status is what it is. It means whatever money you make has to go to support the mission of the nonprofit. That's it. And so people have ingrained in their head that we cannot make money, we got to give it all away. That's not true. And so I think that's part of it, is helping nonprofits understand what is possible. CNHA has a holding company now. So there's CNHA, and under CNHA there's a whole bunch of programs and divisions, and then we have a holding company. It's a holding and investment company. And that holding and investment company has for-profit companies under it. And the mission of that holding company is to make money for CNHA so that we can do the program and work, the things that we need to do. Like, as I see the future of CNHA, I see us helping other nonprofits build the same ecosystem that we have. So Trump can take all the money away, we're still standing. Like, that's how I want to see our nonprofit sector thrive. And it's possible. Trust me, we have every lawyer, every accountant that's on our payroll. And this is absolutely how, even this place that we're at right now, Croc Center, look, they get nice, the kind, right, gym, they get collecting revenue, they get pool over there, they're making money. So how come our nonprofits are not thinking more critically about how to build wealth? We can, we should. And that's the future, I think. It's to become an intermediary where we are helping our nonprofits and all the important service providers find ways to strengthen their portfolios. That's, I think, the future of our organization. Geez, I still get half an hour. Let me close this up, and then maybe I'll take some questions. One of the greatest reflections in life is the times that I spent with people, mentors, service providers. I remember I was actually in Hinamalka at one time. I was a patient there. I was a residential patient at Hinamalka as I was trying to clean myself up. And one of the Hinamalka counselors told me something that I won't forget. They told me something, and I ended up using it later on in life. They said, failure is not an option. Persist, and you'll always be successful. They told me that. Failure is not an option. Persist, you'll always be successful. And I think that is an important message. And I ended up using that line when I was at Honolulu Community College. So if you ever go to Honolulu Community College and you look on the wall, the administration building, there's a sign that says Honolulu Community College. I put that over there. I paid for that. Well, the students did, because I told them their campus is so ugly. I mean, Honolulu Community College is awful. It looks like a commuter school, So I told them, you need to beautify this thing. No more even one sign that says Honolulu Community College. So I put up the sign, and there's a plaque over there underneath the sign, and it says that. Failure is not an option. Persist, and you'll always be successful. That is also something very similar to what our Queen said. And so I leave that with you, is when times are tough and when the work gets hard, just remember what's possible. Remember what I overcame, and it was because of people like you, because failure is not an option. We have to persist. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you. It's totally open for questions. Don't be shy.
Oh, it's okay, it's okay. Anyone, questions? Oh, yes.
Hi, Lewis. You had mentioned you had mentors. My question is, how many do you have? Or it's like three-part. How many do you have? How often do you meet with them? Last question, what are your favorite books?
What was the last one?
What are your favorite books?
Oh, my favorite books. Jesus. I'll be honest, I don't remember the last time I read a book. I watch Netflix. I want more. I just got through White Lotus. My mentors have evolved over the years. I still stay in touch with all of them. But as you grow and you need new influences, you know, the truth is like you are very much a product of your environment, right? That's the truth. Is like I noticed I started to change when my environment changed. And so I recognized that like if I hang around with the lawyers and the doctors, I'm going to be more like them. And so my mentors that have been a part of my life have been based on like the environments that I've been in. But I definitely consider Haunani Apollyon a mentor. She gave me a shot. She mentored me. She was very supportive of me. She had a heart of gold. Most times people didn't understand her, but she was an extremely giving person. But the biggest mentor for me is probably my grandmother. She had the most impact on my life. Extremely loving, caring. I drove her nuts. I drove her absolutely crazy. Poor thing. But, you know, it was... She was special because she never gave up on me. Never. I run away from home. I used to see my grandmother driving around the neighborhoods trying to find me. I was hiding. And I look back at that and I feel so bad, you know what I mean? Like she's driving, this is like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. She's driving around looking for me and I'm hiding. And so as I reflect back on like her type of leadership and who she was, the character that she had, it really makes me think critically about how I am and how I project onto others, because that was important to me. Like what she did impacted me. Even till today, I think twice about what I say, about how I act, what I do, and then I think about how I act, what I say, what I do, and how it impacts others. So she's been a very important mentor for me. I mean, of course, there's business mentors, there's other mentors in life, but those I think are two important wahine in my life. And it's women, right? Women leader, you know. I didn't have too much male figures when I was younger. It was mostly women. They would like always comfort me, no matter how rotten you were. They were always there. So yeah.
Anyone on the side? Oh, I have a question for you, Kuhio. Do you believe in or ever utilize the term, or do you feel like what you do now is a calling? And whatever your response is to that part. And the second, it's a two-part question, is what is your mana'o about how one can cultivate their gifts so it becomes a calling or something that they know that they can utilize their gifts for to build their community?
Thank you for that question. You know, I'm a strong believer that oftentimes you don't get to choose your kuleana in life or your responsibility. It chooses you. It kind of like it calls on you. Like I didn't ask to be the CEO. I didn't choose to be the CEO. I was asked. I didn't choose to be a single parent. It happened. And so Kuleana has been calling me my whole life. It's not like I sought my eyes out on becoming a CEO. In fact, I would have never imagined in a million years. And I'll be honest, when I was in college, I went to, they used to have these Hawaiian programs on campus, right? Like Title IV programs. And so I went, and they were offering free, they would cover your registration to go to the Native Hawaiian Convention. So I went to one of these conventions. I sat in the back of the room. I didn't know anybody, that's why. So I just was cruising by myself in the dark. And I listened to the conversations that were going on. I never in a million years thought that one day I would become the head of the organization that puts on that convention, the Native Hawaiian Convention. My whole life has been taking me in directions I haven't had a chance to choose. It just chooses me, and I've let it take me. So I forgot what your question was, but I will say, I feel like sometimes Kuleana calls on you. You don't get to choose the Kuleana. And that's very much been my life.
Mahalo. Questions from the audience?
This guy is a really, really hard guy to get. So now's the time to ask him questions. He's
Over there, to your left.
Oh, got it.
Mahalo.
Coming.
Hello. Oh, wow. Hi. Thank you so much for everything that you said. It was so encouraging to hear that you were able to persevere more or less pretty independently. I'm lucky enough to work with Big Brothers Big Sisters Hawaii, so we really believe in mentorship, and you mentioned a little bit about that. And we serve a large number of Native Hawaiian kids, and we're always in search for good mentors for that. So I'm wondering, where are places in the community or groups in the community that you think would be beneficial for us to direct our youth to, or to search for Native Hawaiian mentors?
That's a good question. I mean, there's so many organizations out there, and I think that's part of the challenge, actually, is how do you navigate it, right? It's just it's very similar to what's going on Maui. You get all these programs to help the Maui victim, the fire, the people that have been devastated by the fire, but it's trying to help them navigate. And I do think that is a challenge, because there's so much people doing good work, but from a user end, from somebody that's seeking help, how to find it is challenging. It's not always that easy. We think it's easy. We all get websites. We figure out Google, but it's not so easy, because everyone is in a unique situation. They have a unique scenario that might be facing them. And it's not like a cookie cutter kind of response that you can give everyone that's on a website. So I think we could do a better job of helping them to navigate. CNH is definitely a resource. We actually have an app that we just built. Funny, because anyway, it's an app that helps families find resources, and you just click on it, and it takes you right to, you tell them what your challenge is. What is it called, Cody? The Ala app. You can download them. It's the Ala app, and it helps you find the resources that you need. In fact, you can even ask Auntie. There's a thing called Ask Auntie. And you ask Auntie, you just tell Auntie the problem, and Auntie will help you find the program to help you. So it is a challenge. We see it as a challenge. We've created some solutions to it. The problem is kind of keep up with all the evolving programs. Everybody keeps changing programs every year, every other year. So that's what we're trying to figure out now, is how do we use AI to keep this thing updated, rather than us manually having to call and reach out to other programs. But it's something that is a need, helping families navigate, and even helping providers know what each other does. That's another thing. Sorry, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
We're working on it. Just that, so.
Other questions?
Oh, okay.
Oh, Lori Tochiki?
Coming.
Ala app. Just go in your search for the app. Ala, A-L-A. By the way, Kau'i is here. She's our Chief Operating Officer. If you have any questions, any complaints, please see her. She runs all of our programs at CNHA.
Could you speak a little bit more about thriving and seeking wealth? Because I don't know, I was raised like, greedy people are bad and seeking wealth is a bad thing. And so I think we make ourselves not seek wealth. And I'm
Got it.
really intrigued. So can you tell us more and maybe
Totally.
how do we overcome the barriers?
It's a great question. So first of all, how we measure wealth is important. It's not just economics. It's not just money, right? It's called vai. Vai is like the type of resource. So there's different things that can fill your cup. So it's not just money wealth. It's capacity wealth. It's all of these different things. That's when I say like development, economic development. Sure, it involves money. Too many of our families are moving away from our islands. More than half are gone, and that trajectory is going to increase. So there is an economic reality that we have to become economically self-sufficient as a community if we want to stay in Hawaii. There's just that reality. But we have to balance that with the other types of vai, our resources. Like our value system, our aloha spirit. Those are so important to having the correct balance when you're dealing with money. My grandmother used to tell me, money is the root of all evil. She told me that many times. And she wasn't wrong because it can turn you sideways very quickly. So you have to have the values that accompany that. So the other types of vai need to balance out wealth building, financial wealth building. But when I talk about economic development, it's time that we find ways to change the social well-being of our people. And it really starts with being able to pay for childcare, pay for your basic needs. And so the challenge that I see with particularly Hawaiian community is we give everything away. We give them all away. Free everything. Yet all the auto people, they're charging us. They're charging us for everything, but yet we give it all away. So we have to find the balance where we can still be Hawaii, but also financially support ourselves as well. So I don't know if that answers directly your question, but I think what I'm sharing is we have to start thinking more critically about how we generate resources. For CNHA, we have a very strong cultural grounding. We have kumuhina, we have halau that are part of our infrastructure. I think we have 70 hula dancers on our payroll. We have shows in Waikiki and different areas too. And so we're grounded by culture. But yes, we're focused on building wealth. But it's on the basis of it being culturally connected. So that's how we're doing it. And I gotta tell you, some of this stuff is, we're experimenting too. It's we're looking at over here at Croc Center, the Salvation Army, we're looking at YMCA. How the hell are they all making money? So we're watching how the big nonprofits, Catholic charity, they all make money. And we're like, how do they make it? So we're taking notes and we're doing it and we're doing it better.
Anyone else?
Kim has a question.
I just want to mahalo you, Kuhio. My son, it kind of goes with Laurie's question. My son, he has a business called Hawaiian Style Flavors, and that's the chili pepper water and the salt that was one of the gifts. But he started, and he's the Kolohe kid. He's the reason why I'm in this. I have this calling to be in this kind of work that I do. He started making it in the garage, in the kitchen, and he doesn't have any culinary outside. It's what he learned at home, what he learned making luau, making parties. But he's still Kolohe. He's 38, but he's still Kolohe. But he's now, because of when COVID happened, it was a curse and a blessing because of the makeke. So he was able to through your programming, market his goods, and now is on the continent as well. And so our family has been blessed because he has been validated. Like many of our Native Hawaiian children do not feel that. So through the programming and the blessing of CNHA, he has been. And then so he was doing that for 7 years, and now brought to get 3 jobs because he found that confidence in himself. because he has other skills. He can do electric work. He can, so he went to this test and he failed the first time to get some kind of HVAC. I don't really understand, but with air conditioning. So he's actually has a job with the rail, which everybody, in our family is like, what that for? So waste money, right? But now brother getting paid for doing the HVAC there. So, it started off with those feelings of confidence. And, our children have so much talent, the children that we help. And so I really want to thank you for that.
Mahalo.
So I really don't have a question.
Yeah, well, it's so special to hear some of the testimonials, the outcomes from some of the things. So what she's talking about is our pop-up makeke. We started it during the pandemic. When the governor shut down the state of Hawaii, so many small businesses had no options. And so what we did was we told all these small businesses, especially the ones at Mary Monarch. So if you go Mary Monarch, it's like, that's where you spend all your whole paycheck over there. But all these small businesses, they used the whole year to prepare for that moment, for that 1 week. So we told them, send us your stuff. We're gonna figure out how to sell it. we like I said, when the pandemic hit, I told my staff, whatever we were doing, we ain't doing anymore. We're going to change gears. And that was the first project we launched, was the pop-up makeke. We sold 500,000 products, Hawaii-based products, 500,000. Shipped packages all around the world to countries I didn't even hear of. But businesses thrive. Many of them made more money online through our pop-up makeke than they did at Mary Monarch. But we learned that there's power in bringing businesses together, because when you shop on the pop-up makeke, you're not just buying the purse, you're buying the matching earrings from another vendor, so they support one another. So economic development, building wealth. It's about how one can support the other. The pop-up makeke continues to thrive today. It's an online Amazon of ours. We have like a warehouse with thousands of products, and every day orders come in and we pack the orders and we ship them out. We didn't know what we were doing at the time. We was trying to figure it out. We lost so many packages. But it was the spirit of trying to help is what shined through. People were very forgiving. Just the other day, CNHA, we, in an effort to try to consolidate and support another Hawaiian business, CNHA acquired Namea Hawaii. How many of you shopped at Namea Hawaii? Yeah. So Namea Hawaii is now merging with the pop-up makeke. So they're now part of CNHA's ecosystem. So we have a way to support, because Namea Hawaii doesn't do online. You got to go in a store and shop. So the power of our online coming together with Namea's retail is going to be a very beautiful thing. And so this is economic development that I'm talking about. This is how you create wealth between two businesses to build capacity, to expand the opportunities to help small businesses. And I'm very proud. We were able to help over the course of the last few years since we birthed Makeke, over 300 Hawaii-based businesses. So thank you for sharing.
Hi, hello, over here.
Aloha.
You talked a lot about mentors, and I just wanted to know, how are you going about being a mentor yourself? Because I'm sure that you're kind of guiding someone that was probably in a similar shoes as you.
Well, I have 100 employees that I got to mentor every day. And, it's not easy being a mentor, too. Because I remember one time I wanted to buy a building. I wanted to buy a building. We had barely enough money to afford it, but I wanted to buy it. And I took my board chair to go look at the building. It's actually commercial properties. And she said, oh, yeah, it looks great. So I took that as board approval. I ended up buying the building. But I'm sharing that because my whole life has been mentoring people as a parent, as a leader in the Hawaiian community, it's a lot to bear. I can't even go shopping anymore without somebody asking me to support their fundraiser or something. You know, I mean, it's difficult. But mentorship means you're emotionally, as well as spiritually, as well as financially supporting them in their development. So it's a lot of kuleana. But I do the best I can to support those around me. I don't go out as often because, you know, I will be broke if I went out more. Everybody would be hitting us up or asking us for support. And I'm saying broke not just financially, but emotionally. The tank would be empty. So I got to balance it out too, how much I can take on. But I think the ones that I mentor the most right now is probably the CNHA team. Yeah.
Hi. Hi. I was reflecting a lot on your experience of education and how you were very persistent and not giving up in pursuing your high school diploma. I'm thinking about the future of education for our children here in Hawaii and maybe what advice you'd have for some of our leaders who are dealing with a lot of the bureaucracy that you mentioned, while also supporting the future of our kids. And like, what advice would you have for those people who might be listening?
It's kind of simple. I mean, status quo is not an option for me, right? Like, so when we see a void, we do it. So an example. The community colleges have just about every campus has a commercial driver license program, CDL program. Leeward Community College and some KCC, even the neighbor islands, they all have CDL. But they charge the students like $4,000 or $5,000 to take this class. And there's a long wait list. So the last 2 years, CNHA has graduated more CDL drivers than the entire University of Hawaii system, and we charge nothing. We subsidize the whole thing. And that is why I feel sometimes systems are broken, because it can be done better. It should be done better. And if they're not doing it, then do it. So we fill pukas all the time. You know, we're not over there telling UH you suck, but we're just doing the work. They can see for themselves. We graduated more drivers than you, and we didn't even charge these people, putting them in more debt. So sometimes the system just needs to be shaken up, and how you do that is by action. Hawaii Tourism Authority is another example. You know, they've been screaming about tourism problems forever, but somebody's got to step up and challenge the status quo. And when you challenge the status quo, it's not always easy because they start throwing arrows at you, because they never want to change. They like the way it is. It's beneficial to their business model. But you got to be bold. You got to be willing to take them on. You got to be willing to get criticized in the process. So if there's ever one thing that stands out to me, is like just not being afraid to challenge what you don't believe in. And we do that through action, not by necessarily screaming and protesting. It's a different kind of protest for me. Like, I used to go Waikiki with my red shirt and my kids. We used to march in Waikiki, shut down everything, you know. But now we protest different. We protest through actions by taking on system changes, by doing the work that we keep complaining that others not doing. So when it comes to bureaucracy, you don't have to live in their bureaucracy. You can create your own system with the right partnerships, with the right mentors, support. That's what we do. When we don't like something, we just do them. We do them better.
Mahalo, Kuhio. I know you have to jump on a plane, so this is our last question.
Over here. I appreciate your innovation and the economic growth that you're creating. You also alluded to this earlier. I've been seeing an alarming trend of Native Hawaiians leaving Hawaii, and the fact that in the last 2 years, your convention has been on the continent for that purpose. Want to kind of get your thoughts about that in general, and then what do you feel the role is of CNHA around keeping Hawaiians in Hawaii?
Well, it is definitely a sad situation. I have 2 sisters, and both of them live on the continent. They can't afford to live here. There's just no way. I mean, one house, you're lucky you find one for $850,000. How can anybody afford that? So they don't have a choice. So again, we have to be bold. We have to take on systems. This is no longer about complaining at the legislature. You just got to do it at this point. We're building houses. We're trying to change things deliberately. And that's what it's going to take from way more than us. It's going to take like a wave of change. We need to find ways to be willing to take on structures that are scary. I'll say that I do think there's a hope for them to come back. When I look to the future, and I think about like all of our island communities here, the one like that's there's the most opportunity, I believe, is Hawaii Island. Lots of land, lots of growth potential, not berated with bureaucracy and politics. So there's a lot of growth potential. And I believe if you can create the right model there, the rest of the islands will follow. They can lead. Lahaina is another example. Lahaina has a chance to reimagine what that community should have looked like. So that, there's these gems of hope where we can look at future models and how it can change the ones that are very entrenched, like Oahu, But there's no easy answer to it. But we got to get our people back, because every time they move away from the islands, they're replaced with somebody from the mainland. Our fabric starts to change. Our way of life starts to change. The spirit that drives Hawaii and makes us special changes. So that's why we're taking our convention on the road, because these are all people that should come home, number one, but also can be an extension of us. I'm half Portuguese. I don't know anything about Portugal. I don't even know a Portuguese word, maybe malasada. But I don't want that to be the narrative for Native Hawaiians, where they don't know anything about their homeland. That's why we're taking our convention to the continent, so that they can be connected to us until they can come back home.
Mahalo, Kuhio. And wait, I lied. Got one more. You got a little bit more time.
Thanks, Venus. Kuhio, thank you so much for being here. You're very, very inspiring. You mentioned earlier that there's someone on your team that's with HTA helping drive change. And I'm curious if you can share either a goal or a vision that CNHA has to shift how tourism operates in our state.
Absolutely, yeah. Tourism, the reason, it's an entrenched and entangled thing. I don't even know how to explain it, but I'll tell you that we have a vision for tourism. And the vision is really a community-based approach to tourism, where community can plug in to that economic engine, where our small businesses, like you go through Waikiki, where are Hawaii businesses, all like Cheesecake Factory and all this kind, where's the Hawaii businesses in that economic sector? They don't exist. So how do we get them there? Or how do we build up the capacity so that they can be competitive in that space? So for us, the model of tourism that matters is very much about a community, reasserting or putting back into place community-based tourism, where our local people, our local community can plug in. It's about where people come to Hawaii, they're really coming here for our culture. They're coming for the uniqueness of this place. But where is it? They have these beautiful ads that market Hawaii, beautiful turtles and waterfalls, but where is that when they come over here? So what they end up doing is trying to find it in our residential areas. We have to invest in the infrastructure and the destination if we want to truly be a destination. And so there's so much things, but I believe it's based, like it has to be where community benefits from tourism, and it has to be manageable. We haven't gotten there because, if you followed the news in the last couple of years, there's been they didn't want us to be at the table, to be clear. And they still, some of them still don't want us there. We've gotten along with some of them now, but this contract to manage tourism has been held by a single entity for a long time, like 100 years. The organization that has held this contract can be traced back to the committee that overthrew our queen. And I'm not even kidding, it's the same organization, they just changed their name a couple times. And so for us to go after this contract was a very symbolic moment, because it was representing the voices over the generations. And so when we initially won the contract, if you guys followed, there was a protest that proceeded after we had been awarded. And so the incumbent had challenged our winning of the contract. And so the person that was in charge decided to throw it out and rebid it. And what happened, in short, is the contract got split in two. So we only have half of the tourism contract right now. And so our kuleana in the moment is to do destination stewardship, which is really to manage HTA's community grants and some other smaller programs. The full gamut to change the system isn't available for us to do yet because it still belongs on the other side of the contract. So we have our work cut out because, like I said, status quo is not going to live as long as I'm running this thing. And so we're going to continue to try and find ways to huli this thing in the right direction. We haven't even gotten started. There's been so much change in personnel, change in everything at HTA, but we have a vision. And in many ways, what we're doing is building our own tourism table. We're building our own HTA so that at some point, we don't need to be at the whims of the political structures. We can be self-determined in how tourism is managed. That's our goal. That's our hope.
Mahalo, Kuhio.
Mahalo. Thank you so much, Kuhio. If you want to learn more about the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement, I believe it's hawaiiancouncil.org. The next conference will be held on the Tulilip Reservation in Washington State, the week of the our DOE fall break. There's a charter flight on Southwest. There's other ways you can sign up now if you want to attend that conference. Check it out. It's fantastic. Right now, Kuhio's team is traveling across the continent to gather Kanaka that live abroad so they can be a part of this experience. Over half of Kanaka, 53% right now, live outside of Hawaii. Of the 683,000, according to OHA stats, Kanaka that exist in the world today, over 53% of them live currently outside of Hawaii. So Kuhio's doing, and his team is doing what they can to make them feel a part of our lahui and remind them of who they are at the core. So, with that being said, you have a 10-minute break. We'll see you back here for panel 2 in just a few moments. Mahalo.